Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Lisa, and I'm here to share a couple of words by Oswald Chambers. The first one is titled, Acquainted with Grief. He is a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. Isaiah 53, verse 3. We are not acquainted with grief in the same way our Lord was acquainted with it. We endure it and live through it, but we do not become intimate with it. At the beginning of our lives, we do not bring ourselves to the point of dealing with the reality of sin. We look at life through the eyes of reason and say that if a person will control his instincts and educate himself, he can produce a life that will slowly evolve into the life of God. But as we continue on through life, we find the presence of something which we have not yet taken into account, namely sin. And it upsets all of our thinking and our plans. Sin has made the foundation of our thinking unpredictable, uncontrollable, and irrational. We have to recognize that sin is a fact of life, not just a shortcoming. Sin is blatant mutiny against God, and either sin or God must die in my life. The New Testament brings us right down to this one issue. If sin rules in me, God's life in me will be killed. If God rules in me, sin in me will be killed. There is nothing more fundamental than that. The culmination of sin was the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and what was true in the history of God on earth will also be true in your history and in mine. That is, sin will kill the life of God in us. We must mentally bring ourselves to terms with this fact of sin. It is the only explanation why Jesus Christ came to earth, and it is the explanation of the grief and sorrow of life. And that's the end of that one. And the last one I'd like to share is titled, Reconciling Yourself to the Fact of Sin. This is your hour and the power of darkness. Luke 22, verse 53. Not being reconciled to the fact of sin, not recognizing it and refusing to deal with it, produces all the disasters in life. You may talk about the lofty virtues of human nature, but there is something in human nature that will mockingly laugh in the face of every principle you have. If you refuse to agree with the fact that there is wickedness and selfishness, something downright hateful and wrong, in human beings when it attacks your life, instead of reconciling yourself to it, you will compromise with it and say that it is of no use to battle against it. Have you taken this hour and the power of darkness into account? Or do you have a view of yourself which includes no recognition of sin whatsoever? In your human relationships and friendships, have you reconciled yourself to the fact of sin? If not, just around the next corner, you will find yourself trapped, and you will compromise with it. But if you will reconcile yourself to the fact of sin, you will realize the danger immediately and say, yes, I see what this sin would mean. The recognition of sin does not destroy the basis of friendship. It simply establishes a mutual respect for the fact that the basis of sinful life is disastrous. Always be aware of any assessment of life which does not recognize the fact that there is sin. Jesus Christ never trusted human nature, yet he was never cynical nor suspicious, because he had absolute trust in what he could do for human nature. The pure man or woman is the one who is shielded from harm, not the innocent person. The so-called innocent man or woman is never safe. Men and women have no business trying to be innocent. God demands that they be pure and virtuous. Innocence is the characteristic of a child. Any person is deserving of blame if he is unwilling to reconcile himself to the fact of sin. And that is the end of these words. I pray you all have a great evening. God bless each and every one of you, and I will see you either next video or in the air. Bye-bye.